6:21 a.m., we will reconvene this board meeting. And so hopefully our sound issues have been resolved. Jeff, if you're at your desk, how are you hearing us?
Sean says much better audio.
Much better audio.
I agree, the sound is much better. You're coming in very clear now, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, I think we have our audio issues resolved.
Thank you, Jeff and Andrea.
Yes, thank you so much. So let's get back to our agenda. We finished item number 8, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 9, discussion and consideration of modification number 3 to intergovernmental agreement, cooperative agreement, number 4023 with the Oregon Department of Forestry. And with us this morning, we've got Chris Laney, Director of Public Works. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners.
So Chris, I just got to say, that's not a real forest in the background.
So behind me is a stockpile of material. This is gravel that is up in the county pit, up in the Halem area. This is not a gravel pile that is specific to the modification. However, it is something similar to this. Just to give a perspective of scale, you notice the small excavator, the toy-sized excavator that's sitting on that pile, just as a point of size. So the original IGA back in 2009 was that the Oregon Department of Forestry would provide a stockpile of 5,000 cubic yards of riprap up on the Trask River Road. The county would provide 5,000 cubic yards of 1-inch crushed rock, which is similar to what you see down here. That's in the Halem pit. Contract was extended for modification number 1. Modification number 2 extends the contract as well. And the modification is that we are looking at extends the contract out again to allow for our use in order to extend it out from October 15, 2021 to October 15, 2026. So this modification is simply an extension of the IGA.
Perfect. Comments, questions, concerns?
No, that's terrific.
Yep, and I agree with that, Chris. I mean, this is two agencies, the county and a state agency working together and doing things that need to get done. So I think it's perfect. Looking for a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of modification number 3 to intergovernmental agreement, cooperative agreement number 4023 with the Oregon Department of Forestry.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chris. Item number 10, discussion and consideration of the final, of the final application to the EPA Grounds Fields Community-Wide Assessment Grant Program. And with us this morning, we've got Thomas Fiorelli, Housing Coordinator. Thomas, are you with us?
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much, Commissioner Yamamoto.
Good morning.
So I'm here today to talk to you about the Brownfield grant that we submitted in November. The Board of County Commissioners approved the submission of that grant. And that was to report that we received that grant. So this is a really, really great opportunity for us to redevelop properties throughout Tillamook County, specifically for housing, as well as other types of community services. The reason I'm talking with you today is because we've made a few adjustments in the budget categories that I'd like to bring to your attention and ask for consideration to ensure that this is in line with what the county commissioners would expect from this grant. The primary thing to note is that there were no allocations for personnel time or fringe benefits. That would be primarily the time that I would be taking to administer this grant, and also to work with property owners as well as other stakeholders on assessment, cleanup, and development. I've also allocated some time per the requirements and what's allowed within the grant application. Move some funds over to indirect costs as well, and this would pay for some of the time for spend down and other efforts that would be needed at the administrative level from the treasurer or from our chief of staff person for anything having to do with EPA communication.
concerns, comments?
I would just say this is an exciting opportunity. I've had the chance to visit with Chief of Staff Rachel Haggerty, TJ, Sarah, myself, and talk about the Brownsfield program that we can develop for Tillamook County, starting with this assessment grant. So this grant really will be utilized for assessment and some of it in here for planning. But what it really does is cues up a Brownsfield program where then we can take some of these assessed properties and step forward and request grant funding for cleanup, which in the past we've done some assessment in Tillamook County, but we've not gotten to that cleanup phase. And so there's just some real energy here to move forward in establishment of a full Brownsfield program that's kicking off with this assessment grant.
Perfect.
I agree, it is exciting, and congratulations, Thomas, for being awarded the grant. It's a really big deal, and I'm excited about the opportunities for housing and also for business. I think there are probably a number of sites that have great potential that we could transform with the Brownsfield funding.
Perfect. And TJ, honestly, when you were hired as housing coordinator, I wasn't thinking along the lines of you doing work with Brownsfield's grants and things of that nature, but it does fit directly into what you're doing as our housing coordinator in Tillamook County. I think this will bring on many more properties that we would not be able to develop otherwise. And getting these grants from the state and or federal government to be able to redevelop these properties, clean them up, and redevelop these properties is a terrific thing. So again, TJ, I want to thank you for everything you're doing there.
Yeah, this was an
Thank you
amazing
very much.
opportunity. Yeah, amazing opportunity that aligned. Colpack assisted us with the preparation of this first grant, along with TJ and Rachel and Sean. And TJ has experience in this. He's done 2 different grants in his history. So he brings this experience and expertise to us, which is the most amazing thing. Because when you get into any federal grant opportunity, there are a lot of nitty-gritty details and pieces that if you don't know, make it extremely difficult. So hopefully this helps it be an easier leap to having a Brownsfield program in the county. So we really appreciate TJ and his experience.
Okay, with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the final application to the EPA Brownsfield Community-Wide Assessment Grant Program.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, TJ, appreciate your work on this.
Thank you, commissioners.
So moving on to item number 11, discussion and consideration of a state preparedness and incident response equipment called a SPIRE grant, Program 2 application. And with us this morning, we've got Randy Thorpe, Emergency Management Director, and John Spence, Communication System Administrator, Information Services. Gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
What we have here is a grant application for 3 different pieces of equipment, and it's through what you call the SPIRE grant. This is a program that the state purchases equipment and places it with the various entities within the state. There's no upfront cost to the county. The only cost is of course, the maintenance, the care, and of course, the extensive record keeping that is required for most federal grants. The ownership is retained by the state for this equipment for 7 years. And after the 7 years, the equipment will be disposed of, which means it'll be turned over back to the county with full ownership with that. The pieces of equipment, I'll talk about 2, and I'll let John talk about the third. The first 2 pieces of equipment, I'm hoping to place both at the county fairgrounds. It is, as we all know, the identified area for the evacuation points during any types of events that we have here in the county. The first one is to replace a generator that was outside the 4-H building that is no longer operable. And so I'm applying for it's going to be a mobile 108 kilowatt generator, diesel, trailer mounted, that will be able to place there at the fairgrounds. I'm also looking for a portable LED light tower that is also trailer mounted I think with these two pieces of equipment placed at the fairgrounds, I think they'll really enhance us utilizing that area for any types of evacuation in that area. So, and of course, our third piece of equipment is a portable communications package, and I'll let John kind of explain a little bit about what he's looking for with that.
Hey, John? Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you anyway. And our audio problems continue.
He's unmuted on this end.
Yeah, we show you being unmuted, but we can't hear you. That is.
He's gonna stop.
Oh.
He's just next to
Oh. Well, John, if you want to if you can't get that working, if you want to step into the our meeting room, we are here. I think I saw him get up. He's right down the hall. Come on in. And there he is, in person. How about that?
Amazing, look at how
How
fast
about
he
that?
travels.
Okay, please.
Sorry.
you.
Oh, here. So what we're looking for is a portable communication device that they're offering to the state. And what we can do with that is we can actually take it to a situation where we may be in crisis, something has gone down. What this is available to do is it can actually act as a VHF mobile repeater for our radio system, so we can quickly, or actually pre-do that, pre-deployment. It also has a cellular, Wi-Fi and satellite connectivity, so if we have first responders in that area that don't have cellular coverage or other things, we can actually uplink it with that.
Wow.
So it could be a very nice piece of equipment for us to have because we're so spread out and tendency to have really bad weather. So, but they do maintain the ownership of it, so they can take it at any time. So we'd have to store it, and there would have to be some training on it because it is a very high tech device. So wanted to throw that caveat out there as well.
Perfect. No, I think this is all great. I do. Comments, questions?
In agreement, we have so many areas of the county that do not have good connectivity to any communication, and so when we have an emergency, the ability to add a communication where it's needed is crucial.
Yeah, I think it's terrific.
Thank you.
So I know with the generator out at the 4-H dorm, I started working on that 4 years ago or so, and it was an expensive proposition. So I appreciate you guys working on that generator. The portable LED light tower, Randy, I just need to tell you, 65-mile-an-hour winds, that's an ocean breeze around here.
Well, it looked impressive to me, so.
No, I understand, this is all important stuff, and the portable communications equipment, I mean, when things happen in Tillamook County, they just happen very rapidly, so having these types of systems would be terrific. I wish you guys the best of luck on this grant application, I do. Okay, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of a state preparedness and incident response equipment grant program 2 application.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your
Appreciate it very
support.
much. Good
Appreciate
luck on
it.
that. Item number 12, discussion and consideration of a personal services agreement with Crayon Software Experts LLC for VDI Solution Support Services. Jeff Underwood, Interim Director, Information Services. Hi, Jeff.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hey, we can hear you great.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Sometimes I'm feeling good. So, the item before you this morning is an agreement with Crayon. We actually had brought this before the board a couple of months ago, got an agreement. Everything looked good until Crayon came back and said, hey, we screwed up and the quote was wrong and didn't add up correctly. So, we're having to redo this again with proper numbers.
And our cost went down, right?
I wish that were the case.
Understandable, understandable. Questions, concerns? So can you just give us a brief overview of what this Crayon software does for us?
So this provides some virtual desktop services, which really helps with remote work, but it also gives information services some additional ability to sandbox our administrative functions, which provides additional security and helps protect against our accounts being compromised and being used for malicious purposes.
Perfect. Yeah, I can see why it's important. Okay, with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of a personal services agreement with Crayon Software Experts LLC for the VBI Solution Support Services.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Item number 13, discussion and consideration of a Tillamook County Pioneer Museum Tillamook Coast Tourism Signage Grant Application. And we're gonna turn this one over to Commissioner Aaron Scar.
Yes, so I am on the board at the Pioneer Museum, so I'll bring this before you on their behalf. They are looking to take advantage of the sign grants that were put out for the first time this past year by Visit Tillamook Coast. The signs at the Pioneer Museum have been there for quite some time and can really use an update and an upgrade. And this is coming in front of us because the county is the property owner of the Pioneer Museum building. So we need to agree to the upgrades to their signs and we need to sign off on their grant application as the property owner.
That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Questions, concerns?
I'm supportive. I looked at the draft design. I think it looks nice. I think it's a great thing to apply for.
So,
And this is coming out of Visit Tillamook Coast, which is part of our transient lodging tax system. So this is again, our visitors putting money back into the community, which makes a lot of sense.
and it does.
Perfect. We're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of a Tillamook County Pioneer Museum Tillamook Coast Tourism Signage Grant Application.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Commissioner. Now, items number 14, 15, and 16 have been postponed. Item number 17, discussion and consideration of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with the Port of Tillamook Bay for hybrid meeting technology equipment. And this one is going to Rachel Haggerty, Board of Commissioner, Chief of Staff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In March of this year, the board approved a little over $4.7 million in awards to county projects and community projects being funded by the American Rescue Plan Act funds that the county received. So 8 of those projects are community projects, and so we've been working with the recipients to prepare the grant agreements. And before you today are 2 for consideration. The first one being with the Port of Tillamook Bay in the amount of $20,000 to upgrade their meeting room with better AV equipment. So that is executed by the port and ready for your consideration.
It works a little better than before. Okay. Okay, questions, concerns?
Just comments, we are using the Port Conference Room for a number of meetings. Right now, I believe that our Planning Commission is meeting in the Port Conference Room. Our hazard mitigation planning process, which meets monthly, is meeting in the Board Conference Room at the Port. So we are, regular users of that space, and having it wired for the technology would be extremely helpful. As we were talking about with this meeting, this is sort of an example of the challenges of some of our virtual technology that we carry with us, as opposed to having a facility that is wired for the future, or which the future is now, with all the requirement for hybrid meetings. So I'm in strong support of this. I think that it will benefit not only the port and the county, but lots of folks who will utilize that meeting space.
Likewise, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee uses that room, and we're about to restart our emergency management planning for Tillamook, for Central County. And previously, before COVID, when we were meeting regularly, we were using that room, and it was part part of our consideration in awarding ARPA funds that special districts couldn't apply for them on their own, and so that was another reason that we really wanted to support this project.
Yeah, I do remember that conversation. Our local state representatives were telling us that ARPA funds went to the county, ARPA funds went to the cities, but the unincorporated areas and special districts were not recipients of ARPA funding. So they did ask us to make sure that we took into consideration unincorporated communities and special districts who did not receive ARPA funds directly. And I think this system worked out very well. I do. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with the Port of Tillamook Bay for hybrid meeting technology equipment.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 18, discussion and consideration of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with KTIL for the generator rebuild project. Again, Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
So this is an agreement for $4,000 to provide ARPA funding to KTIL to rebuild their existing generator. Executed by KTIL and ready for consideration.
Perfect. Comments, questions?
The reason for this one is that in an emergency, KTIL provides broadcasting for the entire area that is able to hear the broadcast and has been an invaluable partner in emergency response. And so there was a problem with their generator, and it apparently cost $4,000 to repair it. So it seemed like a good investment.
Agreed, very important resource for us when we are in any sort of emergency, and as we always talk about, we have more declared emergencies in Tillamook County than any other county in the state of Oregon, so we need to be prepared, and KTIL is a vital partner.
A lot of it is because of those ocean breezes.
That's
that we
right.
have. Yes. But even outside of emergencies, I mean, KTIL is, we have so many great partners in the county. KTIL is one of them. They broadcast our community call every Tuesday morning. I know all the commissioners spend time on KTIL doing interviews with them on a regular basis, so absolutely does make sense to me. So I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of an American Rescue Plan Act subrecipient agreement with KTIL for the generator rebuild project.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 19, discussion and consideration of a letter of intent to purchase from JBI Investment Trust for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the November 5th, 2020 land sale auction, parcel number 15 in Township 3 North, 10 West, Section 29AA, lot number 300. And again, Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
This is a .27 acre parcel in Manzanita. The minimum bid offered in 2020 at the auction was $200,000. In between land sale auctions, the board cannot consider by statute anything less than 85% of the last minimum bid value. So that equates to
Good man.
so $170,000 is the minimum bid that is allowed. Interestingly, this property, which doesn't happen often when we go to auction, has also been dedicated for parks and recreation purposes. I'm not sure why, but the order dates back to 1947, and so per statute and county policy, upon the sale of this property, but it will be over time because they're asking to receive the property on a contract. Parks Department will receive $144,500 out of the proceeds. So this letter of intent is ready for your consideration, and then we would prepare the contract and bring it back to you later date.
Okay. Comments, questions? Again, this is a cleanup of our foreclosed property, which we hate. We do not like to foreclose on properties. We do not. But these situations do happen. And our staff, led by Rachel Haggerty, does just a terrific job on making sure these properties get moved out. So we appreciate your work on this very much, Rachel. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of a letter of intent to purchase from JBI Investment Trust for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the November 5, 2020 land sale auction, parcel number 15, in Township 3 North, 10 West, Section 29AA, Lot 300.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion passes. So we are at the end of our agenda. We do have a 10 a.m. time certain public hearing, a continuation of number 85122-000-107-PLND. So we will recess this board meeting at 9:47 a.m. and we will reconvene this board meeting at 10 a.m. or very close to that time, which time we will bring into order a public hearing. So with that, we will we will recess this board meeting at 9:47 a.m.